10 seconds. Stand by. And we are off day 3 here at the Europe Regional 2018 team event number 5. 17 minutes is the time cap for this event 5. And these teams are the first teams in the world to take on this event, so we will get a score to beat from this first heat. The female pair will be the first one to start working, and they will have to get through 20 rope climbs. As we're watching these athletes do these rope climbs here, let's take a look at the standard. So, of course, the athlete will start from the ground and they have to make their way up the rope and touch that cross beam at the top of the rig. They can use their legs if they wish to. They can go legless, that doesn't matter, as long as they touch that beam at the top. On the way down, both of their hands have to be under the black line on that rope before they can let go of the rope. So they will get credit for the rep after both of their hands are below that black marker. "20 reps in total is what these female pairs are looking for here. The work can be divided between the two athletes however they please.
And as always, ladies and gentlemen, when you see a judge's hand shoot up, that means that team has only 5 reps remaining. And right now, on lane 5, CrossFit XY is your first team to come close to finishing their first 20 rope climbs.
Similarly to yesterday and to the day before that, when you see a judge's hand go up, that means that there are 5 or less reps remaining on that set that the athletes are doing. We have a few teams here that have that hand up. Lane 4, New Wave, lane 5, CFXY, and lane 8, CrossFit Berserk. And CFXY is the first team to get their females off the rope and onto those rowers in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. "40 calories is the row amount for these athletes. Both will have to get that 40 calories done before they can move on to the next portion of this event 5, which is the snatches. Now we have the second team, lane 8, CrossFit Berserk, getting finished with those rope climbs.
Already on lane 5, CrossFit XY is pulling at 18 calories, both females.
The minimum work requirement for this event here is that every single individual in the team has to perform at least 1 rep. And the male athletes cannot begin their work before the females are completely done. So if for some reason the females are not able to finish their portion, the team will not be allowed to continue in the competition. Lane 6, Dragon Athletic, down to their last 5 rope climbs. Also Ian Strength and Condition in lane 7. Down to their last 5, and lane 3, CrossFit Faction, also has less than 5 reps remaining. Lane 5, CrossFit XY, getting ready to finish their row and move on to the snatches. Middle of the field, lane 5, CFXY. And as they advance now, on to their 60 snatches.
And your current number 2 in this heat, CrossFit Berserk, already up to 30 calories and over for both of these females.
With the snatches, these teams will advance the barbell after every completed set of 10 repetitions.
And already CrossFit Berserker on lane 8, moving through those rows.
And lane 8, CrossFit Berserk, gets their row done and moves on to the snatches. So right now leading the way here, CFXY lane 5, and CrossFit Berserk on lane 8 holding on to the 2nd spot in this heat, number 1. Lane 1, CrossFit Nottingham, their female athletes about to finish their row on lane 1, and as New Wave has their female athletes finish on lane 4 and move on to the snatches. So it's CFXY 1, CrossFit Berserk 2, and New Wave 3 currently in the heat. For the snatch to count, these athletes must start the bar from the floor and move the bar into that overhead position in one motion. At the top, their knees and hips must be fully extended with that bar over their body for the rep to count. The hang snatch is not allowed, so the bar has to travel all the way up overhead in one motion.
And on lane 1 in full black, CrossFit Nottingham moving pretty fast with their snatches already on the 2nd set of 10. Your current leader is still CrossFit XY on lane 5, and on number 2, CrossFit Berserk.
CFXY lane 5 are halfway done with their snatches. They've got less than 30 reps to go. Once they're finished with their work, they can touch that chest piece and then release the male athletes. 20 more to go for CFXY. 10 minutes have gone by in this heat, so we just passed that 10-minute mark. 17 minutes is the time cap. This is going to be a tough one to finish for these teams. About 6.5 minutes before that cap, and now CFXY on lane 5 down to their last 10 snatches.
And still holding on to second place is CrossFit Berserk, and on 3 it's CrossFit Nottingham on lane 1. They have passed New Wave on lane 4.
Less than 5 reps remaining for CFXY. They're about to release their male athletes on lane 5, middle of the field. As they touch the chest piece, the male athletes may begin their rope climbs. 20 reps to do for these gentlemen here as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let's show some love for these athletes. Open up those vocal cords a little bit, put those hands together. This is their last day of competition. They're already through 4 events. This is their 5th one over the weekend.
And CrossFit Nottingham coming from behind, and they are your current number 2 in this heat. And that
Lane 8, CrossFit Berserk finishing their female pair and releasing the male athletes out onto the floor. Lane 4, New Wave finishing the female portion of the event.
And the male athletes here at the rope climb are going super fast. The athletes from CrossFit Berserk are flying through these rope climbs, trying to catch up to the current leaders on lane 5, the CrossFit XY. And on lane 5, CrossFit XY a little bit struggling with their rope climbs. As on lane 8, CrossFit Berserk is flying through theirs. So we are gonna have a sprint here, ladies and gentlemen.
Lane 5, CFXY down to their last 5 reps for the male athletes on the rope climbs.
And CrossFit Berserk also down to their last set of 5 rope climbs, and currently they are going much faster.
Lane 1, CrossFit Nottingham also has the judge's hand up in the air. So these 3 teams fighting for the top spot here in this heat number 1.
And CrossFit Berserk on lane 8 is your first male athlete to move on to the rower.
Lane 5, your early leader, CFXY, now second place in the heat. Their male athletes move on to the row. 40 calories for both the men. As we're coming up on 15 minutes and 30 seconds, which means we have about 90 seconds remaining in this heat.
And the male athletes for CrossFit Berserk are truly going berserk. They are pulling right now at 2,000 calories an hour, which is a really hard pace, going clearly faster than the other teams here on the rower.
One minute to go.
And the judge for CrossFit Berserk has her hand up, and they will be
30 seconds.
And does it for Berserk? They're moving on to their set of snatches.
20 seconds remaining, ladies and gentlemen. Let's bring these teams to the finish with style. Make that noise. 10 seconds. Three, two, one. We had several teams on that first set of 10 snatches. So we'll have to go to the scorecards to see who took this heat right here. Give it up one more time for all your teams in Heat 1. Thank you.
On a day where just 78 points separate one all the way down to teams here in heat number 2. Anything can happen as we kick off the final day for the teams at the Velodrome in Berlin, Germany. Brandon Domain, Mats Jakobsen, and Nikki Brazier with you here at the Europe Regional for the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games. And it is a very, very close race. It's almost a pick-em at this point for who will be the 5 teams representing Europe out of this regional.
It's all up for grabs. I did talk to some of the teams in the top 5 this morning, and they were all talking about how to solidify their position. They're really, really, really stoked about it, but they also know it could fall out of their hands if they don't watch out.
It is Norway's Team RX Performance leading the way by 20 points. The first test that will await these teams here today comes with event 5.
So event number 5 is 2 female athletes will complete 20 rope climbs, 40-calorie row, and 60 snatches at 95 pounds. Then the male athletes will enter the floor and do 20 rope climbs as a pair, 40 calorie on the rower each, and then 60 snatches at 135 pounds. The time cap is 17 minutes. And one of the teams I'm looking forward to seeing here is FFM. I think they've been kind of flying under the radar. They have been doing great. I'm not sure if they wanted to be in this heat, but they've still performed really, really well. And I know these 2 female athletes are quite capable of going fast.
FFM will be in lane number 3 here in this heat as they enter the day 15th in the point standings, 80 points behind 5th.
You're seeing some pretty determined faces out there. I'm pretty sure FFM aren't the only ones looking to make a move.
Stand by.
And away we go with heat number 2 of 3. There is no time to beat. There will be a score to beat. We do not have an official number because it was on the calorie row for the leaders in heat number 1 on the men's side.
so we're seeing some of these athletes struggle a little bit with the rope climb, and there are a couple of things that I think would really serve these teams well to think about as they start progressing through the event. One of them is be smart on the rope climb. What I mean by that is get further up the rope than you think you need. Make sure you're not fighting with your feet to get that little stub on the rope. Make sure you got plenty of rope that you can get a good lock with your feet. Technique on the rope. Make sure that you go hard, yes, but you can't smoke yourself so that you can't cycle through the snatches. The way to get about that is good technique. Last one, fast switches on the snatch. As soon as your cycle time starts decreasing, switch. Don't go out there trying to get that extra rep because it's not going to serve your team. This is FFM, the ladies of the FFM team, and they're doing just what we talked about, making sure that they get far up the rope before they try to secure it with their feet. We've seen it too many times. Athletes just hanging on there, trying to, get that lock with their feet, and it's so taxing on your grip. And you're going to need the grip both on the rope and on the snatch.
You notice that short rope. It makes it challenging. It also makes it a little bit safer. That rope not hanging on the ground, but it does add to the degree of difficulty. So we also check in on lane number 1. This is CrossFit WN. They entered today 18th in the point standings, about 98 points out. So this one really not going to be a team that will likely find themselves in the top 5, but a team that might continue some momentum as they had a solid day number 2, 11th and 10th in those 2 events.
And here we've got, I think this is Team Nordvest A. And I think a lot of these teams may not be going to end up in the top 5, but they all want to end up strong. These teams are all building for the future as well. I mean, you may not be going today or tomorrow, but next year you want to send somebody off. The experience gained here is valuable.
Now, what are the chances that there's one of 2 teams for Team Nordvest here? Team Nordvest B will be in our final heat, as they are one of the teams that is in heavy contention. What are the chances that this is almost like a scouting heat at this point, where they might be able to pass some information?
Oh, definitely. You know that they're going to have a conversation as soon as they get off the floor, at the same time as I think the coaches for the teams are going to be looking at what happened, how did it work, and is there anything that we can change. That being said, you don't want to change too many things too close to bringing these athletes onto the floor.
In lane number 7, this is the athlete for CrossFit East Kilbride, who comes into this 14th place. They are 78 points out. One of those teams that it's a long shot. They need a lot of help. They also need to do well. They did have one of those home run events earlier this week, where they took 4th place yesterday in the opening event.
They did, but what we're seeing is the female athlete opting to go for 2 rope climbs in a row. Now, obviously, this is something they talked about, but she wasn't quite as fast on the second as she was on the first. I would have liked to see him just switch it out. She was spending a lot of time trying to lock her feet on that little stub that we were talking about.
Now, the pace for the leading team, CrossFit XY, or at least unofficially the leading team, for their female pair was about 4 minutes, as Mendeskluben, Team 2, is on their final 5 rope climbs at 3.5 minutes. They've been there for a little bit. I believe there's 3, maybe 2 reps remaining on the set of 20 rope climbs for them.
And what we're seeing, the ladies out there doing the best job right now on the rope climb. It's fast hands, fast, short pulls to make sure that you keep the momentum up there. You don't want to go for a long pull and then having to tax your grip and your bicep and your back as well. So fast switches with the hands, make your way up there so you get enough rope to secure your grip.
And first team making their way to the rowers is the first team that had a judge's hand up. Mendeskluben, Team 2, onto the 40-calorie row each. They are slightly behind the pace of CrossFit XY in heat number 1.
They are, but these are also they're slightly heavier and slightly taller athletes, which means that there is something that they can make up. There is a chance for them to make up a little bit on the row.
Comes Red Tower CrossFit, 2nd place, along with Team Tyneside, almost side by side with each other, 10 seconds behind the heat leaders Mendeskluben, who, for Mendeskluben, I'm going to say that as many times as I can to try to get a flow on that one. They enter this event in 11th place, 40 points outside CrossFit Nordic, who holds the 5th and final spot coming into the final day.
Well, knowing these guys from Mendeskluben, they're not, I mean, it may be a theoretical chance, but they're not going to give up at any time. Well, both the athletes, but also their coach, Markus Heru. he's not going to let him off before the last buzzer.
Hey, based on the charges that we've seen up the leaderboard, not just here, but in the East and South as well, 40 points can be made up in a day. Might just be how many teams has Mannesklubben able to pass here on the final day.
Well, you know they're hoping to pass all of them.
Majority of the field working on the 40-calorie row each. For CrossFit XY, the female pairing that ended up at 11:09 for their portion of the event was about 6 minutes 45 seconds for them to hop off the rowers and move to the barbell.
And I like what I'm seeing right here from the athletes from Måndagsklubben. Good, solid strokes. What they want to do is they want to make sure that they're not just using their legs and their lower back. They want to finish off with a strong pull. The reason for that is they're going on to the snatches. And if you fry your hamstrings and your lower back, that snatch is not going to be easy.
Now we see these two going for a while almost synchronized. Obviously that's not a standard on the rower, but my curiosity with this is, how do you handle this row? Do you just both go comfortable staying level with each other about as well as you can, or do you want somebody to go a little bit faster to get to the barbell while the other person that might be a little bit stronger or weaker handle it easier? I don't know.
I think if I were coaching a team out here, I'd say, you know, stay in your lane, make sure that you have a speed that you're comfortable with, that you know that you can start producing work as soon as you get off the rower.
Well, within about 5 seconds of each other, they finished the 40-calorie row each, and onto the barbell. They're about 10 seconds quicker than the pace of CrossFit XY. As they start in on 60 snatches, they'll advance the bar every 10 reps. Weight on the bar, 95 pounds, about 43 kilos.
And this is where they made up some time the way we talked about. They're a little bit taller, a little bit heavier athletes, and they had a great technique on the row, setting them well for the snatches.
9 of the 10 teams have at least made it to the rower in this heat, as continues to be Mannesklubben leading the way. In lane number 8 here on the right side of the screen, we have Red Tower CrossFit. They're the second team to the barbell. Third place will now be Team Tyneside in lane number 6. There they are, their athlete working in the white tank top, green pants.
Tyneside being led by another one of the European classics, Jordan Wallace. And you know that I think this is the first year he's actually on the sidelines as a coach, and he was pretty verbal in social media about the change of that. So I know he's excited to see his athletes out there doing as well as they are. Måndagsklubben is still doing really, really well in the bottom of your screen, and Red Tower doing well as well. But what I want you to keep an eye on is how the depth in which the athletes catch the snatch is going to get progressively deeper and deeper and deeper the more and more tired they get. Now this can be strategized to start with, go high to start with and then go lower and lower, but usually it's a sign of fatigue as soon as you start dropping.
Now it's easy to forget sometimes that this, while it's the first event of the day, they did have those 2 days of competition before it. We saw a thrashing of the legs yesterday. How much of a factor is that going to be coming into the final day?
It's definitely a factor. Well, both physiologically, I mean, they're going to feel it. They may not be as snappy and explosive as they're used to, but also mentally, as soon as you start feeling your lower back, you start feeling your hamstrings, you start feeling your legs, you start feeling that you need to go deeper on the landings, you start questioning things if you haven't gone through this kind of simulation and training extensively. The female athlete from Måndagsklubben, and she's still looking very, very strong. This is where the teams on the switch in the snatches, this is where there's a lot of time to be made up for the teams. If you could get off the bar really fast and the other athlete can step forward and address the barbell really fast, that will actually, you'll make seconds on every single transition that way.
Måndagsklubben, they're a couple of reps away from moving to the final section of the floor, so it'll indicate the last 10 reps of the 60 snatches that they'll have to complete. Again, CrossFit XY, their female pair, finishing at 11 minutes 9 seconds. The team moving up in a hurry is in lane number 2 here with the blue pants. That's the athlete program. They're 10 reps back, but they have been on a tear since they got to the barbell.
And the slightly shorter athletes, they were finding it a little bit harder on the rope. They did really good on the rower as well, but like you said, once they got to the barbell, it was their jam.
5 reps remain for Mendelsklubben. Hoping to get a little bit of that home cooking here.
She's still looking so strong, and I like the way they communicate. The other female athlete was pretty obviously saying, you know, you take this.
10:19, 50 seconds quicker than the pace from CrossFit XY. 1 heat to go, and the Mendelsklubben men can make their way to the rope.
And these guys are doing great on the rope.
This is gonna be a big head start for Mendelsklubben, the team out of Sweden.
We talked about fast hands, get further up the rope than you think, lock your feet, touch the cross beam, and get down.
How do you feel about that strategy on that rope climb? There was that little bit of a pause, a lot of tension on the arms, but was it worth it to get that foot lock, taking those extra couple seconds?
See, I think it is, because you want to get a good foot lock so that your judge can see that you're obviously touching the cross beam. Don't go up there and assume that your judge saw this. Make sure, just leave no rest or leave no room for doubt.
Seems like they got the rhythm on the rope now with that foot lock, less hesitation on it at this point, and they're going to have about a 10-rep lead over anybody else. We're waiting on the next team to finish the snatches. And lane number 2, bottom of the screen, blue pants, is the athlete program. They're in their final 5. Red Tower in lane number 8, also in their final 5. And the second place team out of the female pair will be the athlete program. They'll have about a 1-minute deficit to Mendelsklubben, who will have really about a 10-rep, maybe 12-rep advantage. Here comes Red Tower in 3rd.
It's an impressive lead that the ladies from Mendelsklubben were able to build out for the men, and it really sets them up for success. Don't have to stress, don't have to catch up. Just go out there and execute the game plan as it was set to start with.
The athlete program out of Colchester, United Kingdom, working through the rope climbs, trying to make up as much ground as they can. As keep in mind, we've only got about 4.5 minutes until the 17-minute time cap, which really makes you wonder, what kind of pace are we going to need to see from a female pair to get a team to actually complete this entire event?
I think Mendelsklubben were pretty close to it. I still think they're going to have to go a little bit faster, if that's even possible. That remains to be seen a little bit later today. But I think they do need to go a little bit faster in order to give the guys a chance to actually finish the event.
Should be about 2 reps away, plus or minus 1, obviously. They make the touch, come down. They do have to show control below that black line on the rope. That is part of the wrap. And this will be the final rep for Mendelsklubben. And they'll get the go-ahead at 13 minutes, 19 seconds. Mendelsklubben onto the rower. Same distance or same calorie count required for the men as it was for the women. It's a 40-calorie segment.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys do on the row. They're both tall, strong athletes, which means that they should be able to get a calorie per pull. Make sure to finish those strides off with a strong pull. Don't just use your legs and your lower back. Even though these guys are very proficient with the barbell, I've seen them in training, seen them in social media, seen them at these shows before. I know that they're really comfortable with the barbell, and this isn't the weight that's going to give them any kind of trouble, but you need to set yourself up for success.
Third place team getting to the rope climbs might be the second place team coming away from them, as Red Tower out of St. Petersburg, Russia, have made the charge. They'll show control on the way down. They'll get the go-ahead at 14:16, still 57 seconds behind the pace of Mendelsklubben.
But those are a couple of really big units.
They might be able to pull hard on that row or maybe make up some more ground. Now, curious question here, 2.5 minutes left. You know at this point, you're probably not going to finish this event. You still have what's basically double Isabel remaining after this row. So what do you make any changes here? Do you start to accelerate a little bit more than you might have thought on the rower?
If I were out there or I had athletes out there, my tip would be go as hard as you can. Now it's all about leaving as few reps as possible on the floor. So start going for it. You want to just try to accelerate with everything you've got. Last day of regionals, there's nothing to save.
And to clarify that, that's knowing that you're going to get off the rower also. Do you want to go aggressive on the rower before you get to the barbell? If we're in the final few seconds, you're not going to get there. You might as well just, pull as hard as you can.
Just Hail Mary, everything you've got.
And onto the 135-pound, 62-kilo barbell, 60 reps, just like the ladies did. They'll advance it every 10 reps. So we have 90 seconds remaining.
And as I said, both of these guys very comfortable with the barbell. No problem whatsoever popping the hip, moving into, or handing it over to a shrug, and then just following through with the arms. And that's what they need to do for as far as they possibly can. In the end, however, once they start feeling fatigue, you're going to see them pulling more with their arms.
Red Tower is closing the gap. It's likely not going to be enough time for them as we have 1 minute remaining, but they've cut about 20 seconds of that lead on the row portion of this second relay.
That is very impressive. Just goes to show what technique on the rower can do. It can earn you. So you save effort. It's less time and attention on the rower. And that's exactly what you need. You need to set yourself up for success, and they really did.
20 reps complete for Mannesklubben. It is a 11-rep lead for them over the second place team, Red Tower. Nobody else might make it to the barbell, as third place Athlete Program was another minute and 20 seconds behind Red Tower in second. So these might be the only two teams through 2 heats to have their men advance to the barbell.
And you saw the first male athlete from Red Tower went 10 unbroken reps. He is cycling that barbell very, very fast. Now, I don't think he's going to catch up with Mannesklubben either, but he's making short work of it.
Wow, right as the time cap hit, we had 2 teams have their men just sprint to the bar, try to get a rep. Not sure if it's going to be good. It was Hero Race Stolitza in lane 10, Team Tyneside in lane 6. They also completed the row, but it's Mannesklubben that will take the heat and the event lead going into our final heat of event number 5. Again, we won't have the official count on their reps. We know it was beyond rep number 30. Believe it was about 32 or 33 reps will be the score to beat going into our final heat. As that closes out heat number 2, and it is time for heat number 3 to close out the opening test of the final day at the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games Europe Regional here at the Velodrome in Berlin, Germany, as your top 10 teams after day number 2 are taking the floor as we get ready for event number 5.
And event number 5 is as pairs. The 2 female athletes will start by doing 20 rope climbs as a pair, 40-calorie row each, 60 snatches at 95 pounds as a pair. Then the male athletes enter the floor doing 20 rope climbs as a pair, 40-calorie row each, and 60 snatches at 135 pounds as a pair. The time cap is 17 minutes.
And your top 10 teams are here in heat number 3. Your points leaders, Team RX Performance, will be in lane number 5. The team that came into day number 2 as the points leaders, Team Food, out in lane number 6. But we do have some experience in lanes 4 and 7, respectively, from games perspective, Max Pull Spartans and CrossFit Fabriken.
And that's always one of these things that is going to serve these teams well. Games experience. We've got Team CrossFit Nordic right here. We've got some games experience there as well. Anna Vigedal has been there before. She shared her experiences.
And keep an eye on Nordic. They enter the final day as the bubble team, the team sitting in the 5th and final qualifying position. As we enter the last 2 events, they're 14 points ahead of 6th, who is Team Aarhus.
Another one of the teams that we're looking forward to seeing here is the Max Pull Spartans. They have done some epic work this weekend that's put them in a great position, and they look hungry. They were talking a little bit about the events today, and they felt comfortable with this.
Max Pull's the only team to have multiple event wins this weekend. They won event 2 and event 4, but they've surrounded with 2 finishes outside the top 10.
Stand by.
And the final day underway for our top 10 teams here in Berlin. It starts with the female pairs attacking 20 rope climbs.
And we talked about it before. This is all about the female pair setting the male pair up for success. Obviously, it's all about going out there and executing your game plan, but you need to remember that it's not done once these ladies are done on the floor. They've got 2 male athletes waiting behind them, and they need to go out there as well, and they need to have enough time to get the work done.
Now the ladies for Mandelsklubben, the event leaders, who were unable to finish the event within the time cap, so we do have a score to beat. We're trying to get that officialized. But Mandelsklubben had their ladies finish the rope climbs a little over 4 minutes in. The fastest split we've seen is 4 minutes by CrossFit XY in heat number 1. Mandelsklubben was able to hang on to that lead the entire way through heat 2, though.
They were. I mean, they were saved by the bell, as well as the Red Tower team were creeping up on them incredibly fast. And that's one of the things that we've been talking about the entire time here, is that you can never let off. You need to keep on going until the buzzer. And we've got team put out here in the middle of your screen. This is Leonie. Now what I want to see from Leonie here is just fast hands, minimizing the time that she's got her maximum taxing on the grip, making sure to come further up the rope than she needs, so there's enough rope to get a solid lock with her feet.
This is a team that, as we mentioned, they entered day number 2 as the points leaders, but it was a bit of a struggle yesterday. 15th in event number 3, 9th in event number 4. Meanwhile, complete flip for Team RX Performance, who was sitting right around the 10th position going into day 2. Then they won event 3, second place in event 4. They have the most momentum out of anybody in this competition.
And they have been the masters of execution. You can tell how they've had a game plan and how they've stuck to it. And it's always the thing about a game plan is that you can always have one, but you know the famous quote is everybody has a plan until they get hit in the head. RX Performance have shown that if you don't get hit in the head, then you can just stick with your guns. And they're really going out there and executing very well.
That was an interesting moment there. I was about to say it was a nice save because I thought she got the no rep as she went up there, went for another touch, and then realized she got the rep, came right back down. Good composure on that rope climb. Did not do more work than was needed.
And that's where that footlock is so important. Once you tap, make sure that your judge is okay with it, and then get off the rope. Don't get off the rope assuming anything.
Here in lane number 7, this is CrossFit Fabriken.
Caught in D, right here. So as we talked about earlier, Karin wasn't, she needs to get further up the rope to lock the feet. Now this is Philippa Ferm, the team who's been to the games as a team 3 years in a row, and now she's on Fabriken's team. Definitely a force to be reckoned with for years to come.
She's going to go for 2 in a row. How do you like that strategy based on what we just saw over the past 2 rope climb attempts?
Traditionally, I'd say I'm not a huge fan. That being said, Karin did struggle a little bit. Philippa looks like she's got it in the bank, so let Karin rest a little bit, get a little bit of blood into her forearms, and then send her back up the rope.
This has been the interesting team in this competition for one of the ones sitting outside of the top 5. Team Butcher's Lab, they have 2 events where not so great, 17th and 13th, flirting with that middle of the pack line. The other 2 events, event 2, 6th, event 3, 2nd, they're this wild card team where it's going to be boom or bust, but they're a huge factor in this race.
They definitely are, and as a team, they're strong. They rebound really, really good off of events that they're not happy with the performance of, but they also have a superpower in the back pocket. They've got Martin Müller, who is one of the original CrossFitters in Europe. He was at the first European regionals. He's a competitive soul, and he's spurring these guys on.
2 teams right at the 4-minute mark move on to the rower. It's Max Pole Spartans on the left, in white on the right, Team RX Performance. So your points leaders and the team sitting 3rd in the point standings, 1 and 2. Team Butcher's Lab on the near side of the screen in 3rd.
And this is it's interesting to see these teams out there because they've been doing really, really well, but you can tell that they're not content with the placing that they have right now. So in the top right of your screen, on the right side of that smaller frame, you've got RX Performance, and RX Performance looking very comfortable on the rower. You can tell they're not muscling as hard through it at the same time as they are finishing strong with the pole. Bottom left looks really good as well. That's with the Butcher's Lab, the team from Butcher's Lab.
So this is right on par with the fastest female splits both from CrossFit XY, who finished the rope climbs in 4. That's the fastest split we've seen on that portion. Mannesklubben was through the entirety with their female pairing, right around the 10:50 mark.
And there's so much to be won on the road. You can force yourself and go faster, but I wouldn't recommend that the female athletes do that. They need to be ready to work and work fast once they get off the rower. So you can't exactly call it active recovery, but you definitely don't want to sprint. Male athletes slightly different. It all depends on when they're allowed onto the floor. This is textbook right here. Feast your eyes.
Amazingly enough, the team that looks the calmest is right here, and they're the team that, granted, they've got nothing to lose at this point. They're outside the top 5 trying to charge in, but you might be feeling like the pressure's on them to perform, and they look calmer than anybody out there.
I'm pretty sure that they are feeling the pressure. You see them looking around just a little bit, talking about it, but I think they are looking to make a move on that barbell. And I think they're really, really, really conscious of the fact that if they go too fast, that's not going to be an option.
First team with the judge's hand up will be Team Butcher's Lab. Team RX Performance with the judge's hand up. Meanwhile, one of the 2 athletes from Max-Pole Spartans is done, just waiting on the other to finish. And it's going to be Team Butcher's Lab that's going to be the first team to break away from the rower. So we got another lead change here in this heat. Second place will continue to be RX Performance, but we flipped 1 and 3 on the row.
And this is where it all comes down to who has planned this better. Are they able to cycle the barbell fast changes, making sure to communicate with each other, not necessarily just sticking by default to the game plan? Does anybody have a little bit more, wanting to go an extra rep? Does anybody need to get off?
Now, Butcher's Lab on the left side of the screen is trying to be the points winner here out of this heat. The problem for them is the teams that are closest to them. Well, Team RX Performance, the points leaders. Third place, Max Pulse. They're third in the point standings. Nordic, Punt Out, and Fabriken, all ahead of them in the point standings, are all right within about 30 seconds of them off the rower.
And there's so much time to make up for a slower pace in the beginning part of the event. But what you want to make sure is that the athlete waiting behind is just recovering, shaking out their arms, and as soon as it's their turn, grab the barbell and go. You can't wait for a good setup and kind of settle into it. There's just no time, and you're being pressured from all the other teams.
Quicker transition in the background for the white tank tops. That is Team RX Performance, as they went with the overhead walk with the bar and right into a touch and go on the snatches in the next segment of the floor. And that pulled them level with Team Butcher's Lab, who had a 2-rep advantage before that.
It's really, really smart. These are the small things that you need to do when you're working as a team. You need to always look at where can I shave off time? How can I make this more effective?
Now keep in mind, as you watch this progress down the floor, they'll advance the bar every 10 reps out of the 60, so it'll give you a good visual representation of where the leaders are compared to everybody else. It's 41 and beyond now for Butcher's Lab on the left, RX Performance on the right, 40 now complete for Max Pole Spartans in the purple tank tops on the right side.
And they're looking good. You see the RX Performance lady is starting to catch it a little bit lower. However, she still looks really, really strong. It may be a part of the strategy set out to start with. Good, efficient turns, right? And switches right here. No hesitation as the next athlete addresses the bar.
And just to correct something, I said 40, meant 30 reps completed. Now 40 complete for the 2 leaders. And there's that quick transition again to pull RX Performance within 1 rep of Team Butcher's Lab, who are cycling the bar a little bit faster. It's just faster transitions for RX Performance.
I love to see how they are moving as a team. Like, both of these teams are moving well as a team. There's no doubt about it. But this is where you need to have a game plan. You need to know what can I do to shave seconds off.
In heat number 2, we asked the question, how fast does the female pair need to go to clear the floor to make way for the men's pair to possibly have a team finish this event? We might be ready to find out. We're still over a minute away from the fastest female pairing, which was in heat number 2, Mannesklubben, at about 10 minutes and 50 seconds. Final 10 reps for our top 3 teams now. led by Butcher's Lab by 2 reps over RX Performance as we hit the 10-minute mark in this 17-minute time cap event.
Strong finish, keep it going, keep it going. You want to let the guys on. You can see back there, they're already starting to jump back and forth. They want to be unleashed.
10 minutes, 15 seconds. There's the touch, and now the men can make their way to the rope. And that's got to be like a huge shot of adrenaline when you're the first ones there, can build a bit of a lead. It's a 15-second head start for these men out of Butcher's Lab, as RX Performance has had their female pairing finish. Only about a 2 or 3 rep differential between the top 2.
Both the male athletes from Team Butcher's Lab are fairly tall athletes. Now they're opting for a legless rope climb because it's faster. I just hope it's still going to serve them well when they get onto the rower and then onto the snatches.
Your top 3 continues to be Butcher's Lab, RX Performance, and Max Pole. Max Pole 33 seconds back. Big winner on the snatch portion of this, though, is CrossFit Nordic, the bubble team entering this event, moved themselves into the 4th position, only 35 seconds behind the leaders.
They did make a move. We did talk to their coach a little bit earlier this morning, and he felt comfortable that they were going to be able to make a move. I'm not sure if they expected all the other teams to be as brilliant at this as they were.
Now on the floor right now, we have 5 teams that are working on the rope climbs. All 5 of them are in the top 6 of the point standings. The one team that's missing out of that top 6 is Aarhus CrossFit. Or excuse me, 5 of the teams that are in the top 7. Aarhus CrossFit sitting in an uncomfortable position as they're one of the last teams on the floor when it comes to finishing with a female pairing. They enter 14 points out in 6th.
And this is CrossFit Fabriken right here in the frame. Good communication, and they're making sure that they get pretty far up the rope before they go for that leg lock. And as I say that, the male athlete, I jinxed the male athlete. I'm sorry about that.
The old commentator jinx strikes again. As here in lane number 8, this is a look at Aarhus CrossFit, who still have more than 10 reps remaining. In fact, they bring up the rear of the field here in this heat, and this is going to be a massive points hit for them, as already 7 teams are through. Now 8 teams are through with the female pairing. This could be catastrophic for them.
There's so much to make up for the guys, and I just don't think that they're going to be able to make that up or catch up with these other teams. Now this is Butcher's Lab right here. As I said earlier, both these athletes are slightly taller, slightly heavier, which means that this row should be a breeze for them. It's not going to be active recovery as we talked about before, but they're trying to set themselves up for success on the snatch.
They are 45 seconds ahead of the pace set by Mandalsklubben. 1 heat to go. The event leaders unofficially. 2nd place now, Max Pole Spartans, as they have passed RX Performance, who somehow have managed to be 2nd place basically since the beginning, as the other teams have just moved around 1st and 3rd around them.
And for RX Performance, it's been the rope climb for the guys that took just a little bit longer. Not because these guys were bad, just because these Max Pole Spartans and Butcher's Lab were exceptionally good at the rope climbs.
20-second interval, 1st to 2nd. Butcher's Lab to Max Pole Spartans going to the rower. Another 20 seconds back or so is RX Performance in 3rd. Team Punt Out is now in 4th. As they make their way to the rower. You notice them in the top of the screen out of these 4 teams on the rower. So the team 2nd place in the point standings, pulling 1 spot behind RX Performance. And that's not a bad position for them to be in at this point.
Not at all. They've got to be very happy with that. You can tell by the female athletes as well that they realize that this is really good work. Calm and collected on the row as well. And
they've been under the radar in this event. They've yet to crack the top 4 at any point, and here they come starting to make a charge late. And that's one of the interesting things about this event, where you have 2 events in one, basically, and it's all for 1 score. The female pairing, obviously important, as you want to clear the way, give the guys a chance, but it's almost 2 completely different races. And speaking about a race, Team Butcher's Lab just went sub 2 minutes on the 40-calorie row each, and there they are on the barbell. We might have a team able to beat this 17-minute time cap, as they've got a little over 2.5 minutes to complete double Isabel, 60 snatches with a 135-pound, 62-kilo bar.
And the hard part for these athletes now is not to get carried away. And when you get carried away, start muscling your way through it instead of having solid mechanics.
Interval has actually decreased between they and Max Pull Spartans. It went from 21 seconds getting to the rower down to just 19 seconds getting to the barbell. We might have a race on our hands.
I'm sure we've got a race on our hands. Max Pull Spartans starting to feel the blood in the blood in the water, and they're going to go for it.
Comes RX Performance in third, as they'll grab the bar for their first rep, just like the ladies did, advancing the bar every 10 repetitions in this set of 60, as we have 90 seconds remaining, 20 reps complete for Butcher's Lab. They're in the red shirts. It's no shirts on the right side of the screen for Max Pull Spartans. This is a bit of a long transition, but if they can break off a big set here, it might not hurt too bad.
That's exactly what they need. They need a big set. They need to just throw everything they've got on the floor right now.
Behind them, the race for third has tightened incredibly as RX Performance has that spot. Nordic and Punt Out are both right behind them, though. Punt Out's in lane number 6, Nordic in lane number 3. The Butcher's Lab continuing to lead the way.
Butcher's Lab looking strong. Now, these are taller athletes, which means that they're going to have to carry that barbell a little bit further, which is why you're starting to see them dip a little bit deeper as well. I don't think it's necessarily just fatigue. I think they're also being smart about their barbell cycling. That being said, feast your eyes on the right side of the screen. Max Pull Spartans.
Final 30 seconds. It's a near rep per rep battle. Through rep number 40, the heat win will be good for the event win at this point. And in the final 12 seconds, can the Butcher's Lab hang on to this lead that they've had since the row on the female pairing? They're going to make a late transition with 3 seconds to go. Can it cost them? It doesn't appear it will, as they'll hang on and unofficially take the event win. And we said it coming in, the wild card team might be making that shot up the leaderboard once again.
This is exactly what they needed, and you know that, well, both because of the points that they're getting, but also look at how fired up they are. They're setting themselves up for a great last day. It
has been boom or bust this weekend for Butcher's Lab. A 17th, a 13th, a 6th, and a 2nd. Now at a 1st. This one definitely a boom for them.
It is. Tillykke til Butcher's Lab og til Martin Møller. Sorry, I had to go native. So Butcher's Lab put on an absolute clinic. What the ladies did out there to start with was solid technique all the way from the rope climbs onto the snatches, and they were really setting the entire team up for success. And that once they finished here, they unleashed the boys on the rope. Now, big guys on the rope, jumping high, spending no time there on the rope at all, and that's exactly what they needed. Max Pull Spartans were starting to catch up with them a little bit on the row. But Butcher's Lab would have none of that. And once they finished the row and made it onto the barbell, they made short work of it, which is impressive. Barbell cycling like that with guys of that size makes my heart happy.
Butcher's Lab, 20 points out, but they pick up 100 here. They're with Nikki Brazier.
So, ladies, we saw a big bottleneck, especially from the female partners in all 3 heats. Women who were unable to get to those ropes really fast and unable to get through the snatches. You did not have that problem. What was going through your mind when you knew that these guys were right behind you and needed the time to go?
I don't know, we just tried to climb as fast as we could and take advantage that I'm long and that we can climb fast, take it easy on the row, and then quick snatches and get as much advantage for the guys as possible.
Now, I see you have a big group of people from your gym in the stands, another big group right here. What does it mean to you to have them out here supporting you?
It feels a lot, like you got like...
It's nice to have the support, and it just gives you the energy to push you even harder when you see people standing and cheering at you. That's so awesome.
Yeah, great way to start day 2, guys. Nice job. 3, sorry.
Thanks, Nikki, as the Butcher's Lab might have found a way to make a tight race even tighter, as it almost feels like, 6 of the 7 top teams were in the top 6 in that event, and they were all inverted of where they were in the point standings. We might have a chaotic final event, which will be coming up shortly as event 5 in the books. It's a team from Denmark that takes event number 5 as they pick up their 3rd top 10 of the weekend. And they needed that one as they entered this one 20 points out coming into the final day, with the final event being just a few moments away from here in Berlin.
Ten seconds. Stand by. And with that, we get underway with our last event for the teams here at the Europe Regionals. And for team event 6, we have a 9-minute time cap event of 144 handstand push-ups and 144 feet worm lunge. The teams will first perform a total of 144 handstand push-ups, and the teams may rotate through these handstand push-ups. But the trick here is, if you look at here at the handstand push arena, on each lane, the athlete on the left side of the lane has to hold a handstand hold, while the team athlete on the right side performs the handstand push-ups. And the handstand push-up is only counted when the athlete on the left is holding the handstand hold. And the teams may rotate whenever they want in the handstand push-up positions, but they must hold the same rotation throughout the whole event. And the standard here for the handstand push-up is that the athlete must reach full extension after the handstand push-up is completed. And since we have 4 different athletes on each of these teams, there is no lane they have to cross with their legs, as was in the open. And the athletes, if they choose, they may do strict handstand push-ups, but as you can see, all of these athletes right here are going kipping handstand push-ups.
Lane 9, CrossFit Watford has about 110 reps already in the bag. Lane 8, CrossFit Berserk, looks like they might be one of the first team to finish these handstand push-ups. That does it for CrossFit Berserk on lane 8.
And for the worm, they have the same worm we have been using this whole weekend. And with the worm now, the teams will perform 144 feet lunge. And the team must go down to the bottom with their knees at the same time. So then if a team does a lunge and they reach the ground separately, the team then gets a no rep. And with that no rep, the team must place the worm down and pick it up again. So unlike with lunges in the individual events, where the individuals have to go backwards, The no rep here is signified by dropping the worm.
9 minutes is the time cap in this event number 6. And we've got 4 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock, so we're about halfway towards that 9-minute cap, as we have 4 teams already working on those lunges with the worm, and the 15 just now joining the party on lane 2. It is CrossFit 8020. Well, leading the way, lane 8, CrossFit Berserk, just a few steps ahead of CrossFit XY on lane 5. Dragon Athletic holding on to the 3rd spot in the heat right now. And the team has to get all of their athletes across that red line before they can place the worm back down on the floor and start making their way back towards those finish mats.
And the first team to start their lunges back towards the finish line is CrossFit Berserk, but they get a no rep right on the first lunge. And this gives CrossFit XY the lead right now. And it's a really tight race. There's no room for errors here on these lunges, because just one no rep may cost you the win in this heat.
Lane 5, CrossFit XY in all black. Only have a few more segments to clear here to get across that final red line. This will be the last event of the day and the weekend for these teams. So ladies and gentlemen, let's make some noise and help them out here as they push through this event 6. CFXY in the lead, only a few more steps to go. Lane 5, looks like they're gonna take the heat. And it is XY who takes the heat, and CrossFit Berserk taking 2nd place. Dragon Athletic lane 6, wrap him up 3rd place. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, help these teams out. This is the last thing, the entire weekend for them. 2 minutes to go, still under to the cap, so we can get this event done for all these teams. CrossFit Watford lane 9, few steps to go, and CrossFit Nottingham lane 1 on their way back towards the finish mats already here as well.
And ladies and gentlemen, as we have been doing all weekend, the last team in CrossFit competitions gets the biggest cheer, so give it up for CrossFit Nottingham here.
I can hear you! There we go, keep it up, keep it coming.
Keep it up for these last lunges, for these people, don't stop, come on.
We've got about a minute to go here. So 60 seconds, here we go.
Keep those hands up, ladies and gentlemen.
That's it, this is what it's all about, the camaraderie. Everybody finishes together. Nobody's left behind.
A few more lunges left.
Come on, keep it coming.
Keep up those cheers.
And CrossFit Nottingham getting across the line. All teams finishing here under the cap. This is it for all of these teams here on the floor, so please One more time, a big round of applause for all these teams here.
Welcome back to the Velodrome in Berlin, Germany, as we have 2 heats remaining for the team competition at the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games Europe Regional. And, well, let's be honest, we've got a team here in heat number 2 that's still got a shot at qualifying for the games. And we will give you the details on that here in a moment. Brandon O'Main, Mads Jakobsen, Nikki Brazier with you in Berlin, Germany, as we're ready for this quick final test to sort out the leaderboard in which 5 are going to Madison. As currently atop the leaderboard, it's Team RX Performance at 412, Max Pole Spartans, Team Food Out, and Team Butcher's Lab. They'll be in the final heat, as well as CrossFit Nordic in those 5 qualifying spots. But in 7th place, we'll have one of the teams here in heat number 2, and that's Mandagsklubben, 28 points outside the top 5.
And so the challenge ahead of these teams is event number 6. It is at 144 handstand push-ups, moving on to 144 foot of worm lunges. The time cap is 9 minutes.
That time cap did not hit any of the teams in heat number 1. And one of the teams that'll need a very quick time is right here with Mandagsklubben if they want a shot to go to the games.
And Mandagsklubben is one of these teams that has the potential to do that. I don't think they're fazed by the fact that they're in this heat. However, all the other teams following will know how they did. So they're going to have to go out there and kind of put an insurmountable task ahead of all the other teams.
That is a significant disadvantage for this team. But again, 28 points the differential. Keep in mind in our point structure here at regionals, it's 6-point decreases from 100 going down to 3rd, which is 88, then 4-point decreases all the way down to 10th, and then 2-point decreases beyond that.
So they really need to go out there and just put everything on the floor and hope for the best.
Stand by.
And here we go, and amazingly enough, 144 handstand push-ups will go pretty quick. The fastest split that we saw in heat number 1 was 3:08 for CrossFit Berserk, but it was CrossFit XY that set the current time to beat unofficially 6 minutes 40.92 seconds for the team that will not be making the games. And actually, one note that we can have here, it's the first time since 2010 we won't have an Icelandic team at the games.
It's time for a change, I guess, which is a little bit sad because these teams are awesome. These teams, it is a sprint, but there are a couple of things that they need to think about. And one of the things is communication. They need to really communicate well, both on the handstand push-ups and on the worm, to make sure they don't lose any time. Breathe later. Basically go out there and give it everything you got. It's the last event. There's nothing to save for at all. Then the lineup on the worm. How do you partition this? Because the athletes will be first walking one direction and then changing and going back the other. So how do you do that knowing that the increments on the worm are different weights?
Notice the boxes on the floor. The palms have to stay within the line. The fingers are allowed to cross.
And then not just that, one of the things we need to talk about, as you're seeing in your screen, is that it's 144 handstand push-ups. One athlete working at the time. The athlete in succession to start working has to be in a handstand holding pattern, and the 2 other athletes will be just resting or cheering on, probably. But that means that you're coming out of a handstand hold before you start you make your way into the handstand push-ups. Now that requires solid overhead positioning, being able to stack yourself so you don't have bent arms. If your arms are bent in the handstand hold, you're going to find handstand push-ups a little bit later to be extremely challenging.
Of course, keeping an eye on Mandagsklubben, the one team in this heat that is still mathematically alive for one of the qualifying positions. And love seeing the speed, and it's a little impressive as well. Going from that inverted position, having to hold that handstand, moving one spot over, you get minimal rest time, and instantly breaking into a very quick set early on.
It is very impressive, and what the athletes need to do is really utilize the hips and legs to get that kip or that upward momentum so they can just kind of follow through, so they don't initiate with the push, because their shoulders will be fried really fast if they do that.
Here in lane number 8, the second highest ranked team in this heat, which is Red Tower CrossFit. They enter this one in 12th. They are mathematically eliminated from competition. As we keep a look around the floor, CrossFit East Kilbride done well off and on in this one, including notching a top 5, and they're going to be moving through, but it's in lane number 9, Team Nordvest A, one of the favorites entering this competition. They're through the handstand push-ups at 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
That is a blistering pace, and now it's all down to the communication we were talking about a second ago. Want to make sure that you move as one and that you reset at the top as one. If you can keep it going without resetting at the top, that's great. However, this is a lot of work that you need to do, and I don't think we're going to see a lot of teams just kind of cruising through it.
A moment ago, you saw CrossFit WN sprinting their way to the worm. They were through at 3:06. Team Tyneside making its way down the floor at about 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And Mandagskluben continuing to work as they're in their final 5 reps, but they are seeing position after position move by them, and this could eliminate them from contention.
And what I'd like to see when we're talking about communication is that now they've got one athlete yelling when to step. I'd love the first athlete to just raise a hand. So much easier with a visual cue, and there's no room for miscommunication, so to speak, that you start hearing audiences, other teams, and so on and so forth.
It has been loud in this building at times. We're expecting a sellout here this afternoon. 4 minutes in, 5 minutes until the time cap. Again, the time to beat, 6 minutes, 40.92 seconds by CrossFit XY. That red line, both feet have to cross it, as it is the turnaround point. The entire worm has to cross it, I should say.
Yes. They're looking very, very good right here up until the turn. Now obviously this gives them a chance to start looking around the field, but they can't really get caught in anybody else's speed. They just need to go as fast as they can, maintaining what we talked about before, the control, making sure they work as one.
And this pace so far, about a minute faster than what we saw in heat number 1 for the leaders, Nordvest A. Lane number 9, second team to make the turnaround will be Team Tyneside. They moved into the second position. And here comes Mandagskluben, by the way. Don't look now, but in lane number 5, they're starting to make a move as you see them inching their way on the far left side of the screen. But it might be not enough time for them to catch Nordvest A, as they only have half the length of the floor remaining.
I think the gray shirts in the middle of your screen chasing Nordvest right now is Tyneside.
Lane 6.
So Jordan Wallace's Warriors are out there representing with pride.
This is actually closing in as they are moving in within about 10 feet of Nordvest A. This will be a close one. It might not be enough, but they're with one worm length away from each other. Team Nordvest A working on getting that worm out in front of that line. They are good. They'll reach the finish mat, taking a new time to beat, 5 minutes, 45.49 seconds. Second place will be Team Tyneside in at about 5:52. And that might be the end of the line for Mandagskluben as WN crossing right around the 6-minute mark.
What a great effort by Nordvest, but also impressive how fast Tyneside made up ground on the lunges.
Next team, lane number 7, CrossFit East Kilbride. Behind them, a tight finish here as we have Mandagskluben on their screen. They're trying to catch up to the athlete program in lane number 2 as East Kilbride has crossed the line. And this will be the end of the journey for all these teams, and it looks like that will include Mandagskluben, barring disaster for a couple of teams in the top 5 entering this event. In our final heat is Mandagskluben crossing the line at 6 minutes 47 seconds. Hard pressed to think that they'll find themselves in the top 5.
Well, barring disaster, I think this may be the end, but it was a good fight. I just think they didn't quite find their rhythm. They didn't find the pace that they were looking for, and the other teams out here were just doing really, really well. So. We've got Red Tower finishing up right now in the top of your screen as well. Being chased by
Oslo Wolfpack.
That's the Wolfpack from Oslo, right?
And give the spot to Red Tower in at 7:23. Wolfpack 7:25, less than 2 seconds behind. 2 teams left on the floor, still 90 seconds until the time cap. In lane number 3, towards the near side of the screen, Team FFM CrossFit. On the top lane of the screen, Hero Race Stolinsa. is the final lunge right here. This one will be actually. And the weekend is over for FFM CrossFit. They'll take 9th of the heat. They're in under 8 minutes.
And Stolica not doing bad at all. They're just a little bit too slow in between their steps.
This would have been pretty competitive time in heat number 1, but here in heat 2, it'll be the last place. But we'll have every team beat the 9-minute time cap as Stolica crosses at 8:13.66. New top time, 5 minutes, 45.49 seconds unofficially for Team Nordvest A. One of the favorites coming into the weekend. A bit surprising to see them sitting this low, but they'll close out strong.
And Nordvest did really, really good on the work. They were moving as one, trying to reset themselves at the top of every step. At the same time as everybody else was breathing down their neck, they weren't fazed by it, kept their composure even though Tyneside were creeping up in the end of the lunges, and that's what got them the win.
And Nordvest A, we'll see another Nordvest team coming up in our final heat with Nordvest B, but like we were saying, this is one of those teams that we had an eye on as a possible favorite coming into the weekend, but they will take the final event there with Nikki Brasher.
What a great way to wrap up the weekend, guys. I know you're the team captain. Just reflect a little bit on this regionals experience. How did it go for you guys?
Well, we have had a lot of ups and downs, but we've been practicing so much, and we screwed up yesterday, and that hurt a lot. But we really wanted to show we were here to make a statement. So this was the perfect finish for us. It was so perfect. It was really great for the team.
Awesome watching you guys finish. Great job this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So a good finish for Nordvest A. We'll see how Nordvest B does in the final heat. As here in this one, we did have all 10 teams able to beat the 9-minute time cap. Currently led by your new event leader, Team Nordvest A, 5:45.49 seconds. Keep that time in mind. It will be very important going into our final heat. Team Tyneside in also under 6 minutes. CrossFit WN in 3rd. East Kilbride and the Athlete Program rounding out the top 5. But the big story coming into this one, Mandagskluben, they had a shot going into that for this final event for one of those 5 qualifying spots. Looks like that might not happen. Here in heat number 3 of the final event, there's going to be 2 teams that will have the pressure on them the most. They surround the cut line. 5th place, CrossFit Nordic, will be in lane number 3. 6th place, 12 points out, CrossFit Fabriken will be in lane number 7. But if you're looking for a team that's got some momentum, how about the team that moved into the top 5 earlier today, Butcher's Lab?
Team Butcher's Lab are on an absolute tear, and I just talked to their coach, Martin Müller, and he said that these girls can do handstand push-ups all day, and they're not just going to do it all day, they're going to do it fast all day. So they're it. RX Performance have been the masters of execution throughout the entire regional experience, and I'm just looking forward to seeing, well, this is put out, and they've also been really great throughout the entire weekend. RX Performance, however, put on a clinic when it comes to execution. I want to see them do that again.
One last time for the teams here in Germany, and we're underway. Event 6 of 6, heat 3 of 3. The time to beat, 5 minutes, 45.49 seconds, set by Nordvest A in heat number 2.
And as we talked about before, it's 144 handstand push-ups. What you need to remember is the athlete weight in a holding pattern next to the athlete working will then have to move into the little square and then start moving. So there is the question of fatigue that may play a part. What you want is a great overhead position, locking your arms out, because otherwise if you're bent, you're not going to be able to go.
Fastest split on the handstand push-ups happened in heat number 2. It was Nordvest A who went wire to wire with that one, 2 minutes 50 seconds through these 144 reps. So we're still about 2 minutes away from that, but we'll see if anybody can move ahead of that pace.
And to keep that pace up, they need to cycle really fast. As soon as your cycling time starts coming down a little bit, you need to get off the wall, make place for somebody else. The thing is, with this, it's all about hips. You cannot rely on your shoulders. It would be way too slow.
First team out is CrossFit Fabriken. They enter this event in 6th, so they need to do very well. They'll need a little bit of help as well, because all 5 teams ahead of them can control their own destiny based on the point standings.
And Great effort right here by the female athlete. You see she kicks up, extends completely, making sure that it's not a no rep, that she comes down too fast. This is an issue when you're trying to go as fast as you can. And this is Fabriken, it was Karin Dike we were just watching right here. But watch this, making sure that it's full extension at the top. You don't want to come down until you know you got the rep. This looks good. That's a tall gentleman right there, and he's still knocking him out really, really fast. Now, you may see the fingers on the outside of the box. That is okay. However, the palm of the hand cannot be outside of the box.
As we take a look down the floor, we note 12 points out for Fabriken. The team that is 12 points in the clear is CrossFit Nordic. Now, we said that all 5 currently in the top 5 control their own destiny. For CrossFit Nordic, they need to finish first or second in this event, and they will clinch a spot in the games.
And that's quite a daunting task, to be honest with you, considering all the teams that are out here and all the potential these other teams have. They probably know this, and it's in the back of their head, but what they really need to remember is stay in their own lane. Don't start looking at anybody else, because it's just going to add to the pressure, and the pressure couldn't possibly be any bigger. If you're a CrossFit athlete, going to Madison, going to the Reebok CrossFit Games is the biggest thing you're ever going to do.
How impressive is this? That 2:50 split time on the handstand push-ups from Nordvest A, it's still the fastest. It's going to be Team Poot out at 2 minutes and 55 seconds, making their way down the floor. Also in lane number 9, Soyuz team, Max Pool Spartans making their way in 3rd. We've got 3 teams getting to the warm about 4 seconds apart. Add another team to the mix, and it's Aarhus CrossFit, the final team that's still mathematically eligible to qualify for the games.
This is going to be an epic showdown right here on the worm. It's all about the communication we talked about before. Moving as one, resetting at the top, making sure everybody's in sync.
We have 4 teams within 5 feet of each other on the lunge as they make their way down the floor for the very first time. Keep in mind, 5:45.49 seconds, the time to beat.
And look at the top of your screen. Team CrossFit Aarhus CrossFit are moving very, very fast. They were the last ones out there onto the worm.
How huge is this? As you see Nordic making their way by, Butcher's Lab just did as well. The final team left on the floor still working on the handstand push-ups is your points leaders, Team RX Performance, who need to finish 19th or better in this event to guarantee a spot to the games. The entire worm will have to cross that red line in a lunge before you can do the turnaround to go back down the floor. Keep that in mind.
And CrossFit Aarhus, the first team to drop the worm.
Soyuz right behind them within a second. Give it 3 seconds behind is Max Pool Spartans. Team Poot out is 5 seconds back. And we got a heck of a race to close out the weekend in Germany.
They're going blow by blow right here. This is as close a fight as you're ever going to get.
Still a very good chance to beat that top time of 5:45. 7 seconds behind it is the second quickest time. We've had 2 teams under the 6-minute mark. That could be a factor as we have spoiler teams playing a huge role in this points race for the top 5. Out in front, it continues to be Aarhus CrossFit by half the length of a worm over Soyuz team in lane number 9. It's Aarhus on the left, Soyuz on the right. They'll set it down. Opens the window for Soyuz team. Soyuz team by about 2 feet. It could be a 1 lunge differential. And it's going to be a falter for Aarhus CrossFit, and it opens the window for Soyuz team, and the Russians will close out the weekend with an event win. Aarhus team will take second, and the spoiler is strong in this heat.
And that's Fabriken right now finishing up as well.
CrossFit Fabriken, this will be good for 3rd in the event if they can beat the line. That's going to be right behind the time. I do believe that was from heat number 2 at Nordvest A. That could be huge. Lane number 4, we just had Max Pool Spartans finish. That will give them a spot to the games. Team Poot out, looking to be the 5th team here in this heat. Times are a factor from prior heats at this point. So the 3rd place team coming into this event will cross, but we do not know if they have guaranteed themselves a spot. Racing on the near side of the screen is Butcher's Lab and Nordic. Butcher's Lab is in. Nordic is going to be the 5th of the 6 teams that were around those 5 qualifying spots to finish, and that might be devastating for them. Speaking of devastating, the last team is RX Performance is here in lane number 10. We have Nordvest B finishing. It's between Soyuz Narushme and on the near side of the screen, RX Performance in the center of the screen, and the points leaders are gonna take a dead last finish in our final heat.
And now Team RX Performance in lane 5.
The word to sum up the weekend here in Germany is just wow.
I cannot believe how epic these finishes are. So close, and small errors on behalf of some of these athletes really made all the difference. These guys look pretty happy though.
So here's team 527.64. Keep in mind, they entered this event in 8th. They were 40 points behind Nordic. So it is mathematically possible. They did all they can. Now we're just going to crunch the numbers, and this one might take some time because that was as close of a finish, and we just squeezed the standings as much as possible.
And so let's have a look at what Soyuz did. So once they got onto the worm, it was a neck-to-neck battle with CrossFit Aarhus. Aarhus, though, did get a little bit of a stumble. Soyuz made the best use of that and cruised all the way to the finish, moving as one from the very beginning to the end. That's what you need from teams like that. You need to move as one, communicate as one, and not get phased by anybody else around you. If you start making a bit of faster pace, you're opening up the window to error.
And the team that normally has the Space Theme shirts just got launched in the first place here in this one, as they will close out the weekend with the win, and they're with Nikki Brazier.
One moment, please. Translate.
So we're actually waiting on a translator because the team doesn't speak much English, but the good thing is you guys came into this event in 8th place, so there is mathematically a chance now to make it to the games, maybe, but I want to say you were so excited when you finished. It was incredible to see. You ran around the end of the stadium here. So exciting to see the Russian teams here this year, and we have a translator, so I want to ask, they came into this event in 8th place, so there's a chance to get into that top 5. So I'm going to ask them, what do they have to do? How hard do they have to push to make it to the end?
Ребята, вам пришлось сейчас очень сильно постараться, потому что это ваш шанс пробиться на Games. Что вы сделали для того, чтобы победить в своем заходе?
Нам все равно терять нечего, поэтому мы работали в удовольствие, по кайфу, по драйву.
We're going to translate.
So we had nothing to lose, so we tried to find our pace and to do it like our way.
Could be the first Russian teams that we see at the games. We'll wait to see what the numbers say. Great job, you guys.
Thank you, thank you.
What a huge weekend it's been for the Russians here, not just on the team side, also on the men's side, where they've got 2 sitting in the top 5 coming into the final day. And Soyuz team closing out the team side of things here in Germany out strong by 10 seconds over Aarhus CrossFit. And keep in mind, Aarhus CrossFit was the final team mathematically alive. They entered this event in 10th. Nordvest A from heat number 2, their spoiler roll time will continue to be strong, finishing 3rd. Fabriken in 4th. Maxpol Spartans, they knew they needed 11th or better to get a spot to the games. They're the only team that really handled their own destiny on this one. Everything else is chaotic behind them.
Everybody else kind of threw it into the air, and we're going to see where it lands right now. I know that there are a bunch of teams out there who are very nervous and also very excited to see what the future holds for them.
Now for Maxpol Spartans, we said that they needed 11th or better. They take 5th, so that one looks good. We don't know what's going on behind it at this point. We don't know. Like, Maxpols might be the points champions for all we know. We're going to wait on that one. But let's talk about some of the other teams. And one team that finished 8th here in this one is Team Kuhn Out, somebody that's really been into the top 5 since the beginning.
They have, and the interesting point about it is that we talked to them and they were surprised that they were coming off to such a good start. And I don't think they saw themselves be as dominant as they have been. Now, let's all see where it plays out. But they've been having an amazing weekend.
And one team that came into today with the points lead, they came into the event with the points lead, but it looks like that is in severe jeopardy at this point. Finishing 10th in the heat was RX Performance, and that was really the only major misstep they've had this weekend.
prior to the event, I called them the masters of execution. That being said, they went out there and they did find themselves in a little bit of trouble on the worm. They just weren't getting the synchronization. They weren't getting the communication right. They were coming off each other a little bit. Some athletes initiating the lunge a little prior to the others. And it's such a small thing to look at. But when you have all the other teams out here executing so well, then you find yourself in trouble. So now they know how everybody else has felt throughout the entire weekend.
Now the team that could be the big winner here is CrossFit Fabriken, a team that has been to the games. They do have that experience. They might be finding themselves back, even though they came into this event in the 6th position. They were 12 points behind Nordic in 5th, 16 points behind Butcher's Lab in 4th.
And there are some really competitive souls on there, like Philippa Farm on the left of your screen, who's been to the games as a teen athlete 3 times. Now, she may be all smiles now, but she is a ferocious athlete. So I'm not surprised to see that kind of atmosphere or that kind of attitude kind of run through the entire team.
On a weekend, we've talked about the youth movement when it comes to the female athletes. We could have Philippa Firm, a teenager, going to the games for a 4th time in her life.
And it's not just going there. They did an amazing job. Just going out there, knowing that there was a mathematical chance of moving on, but they didn't really know. And they just went, you know what? We're going to do everything we possibly can. And from there on, the chips may fall where they fall. Butcher's Lab right here in your picture as well. And you know that they're probably pretty happy with that.
Butcher's Lab, they had all the momentum in the world coming into this event as they were 7th entering the day. 7th entering the day, 4th entering the event. As we wait for the results, I believe we're seeing a little bit more shuffling on the floor, which normally means we might be getting close, as we're waiting to find out which 5 teams will be going to the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games and making that trip from Europe over to Madison, Wisconsin. Kind of feel the buzz growing here in the crowd a little bit. I think they know we're getting pretty close to finding out, as we had a tremendous weekend of competition. I'm pretty sure we saw about 10 or 11 different teams make an appearance in the top 5 at some point this weekend.
And you just know that that's another one of these things that adds to the pressure for these athletes, is that you don't find yourself in a spot and then that spot is secured. You're going to have to go out there, and in every single event you have to fight for survival. That being said, Butcher's Lab looked pretty relaxed.
I was going to say, there's a whole lot of tense faces out there, and then there's a little bit of dancing from Butcher's Lab. We called them the wild card team all weekend long, so why not be a little bit different here as everybody waits on the mat as we look back at lane number 9, Soyuz team, who took the final event. And we do have our results, so we're going to head down to the floor, and Hanu Parashi, who will have our announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have the results in my hand right now. This has been a great team competition this weekend, very even, and it just came down to the wire to see which 5 teams will move on to the CrossFit Games 2018 in Madison to compete at the Affiliate Cup. And taking first place with 476 points, it is Max Bull Spartans. They win the Europe Regional. And I believe they are a repeat team going back to the CrossFit Games. Second place with 456 points. Team Punt Out. Grabbing third place, just 2 points behind The second place team is Team RX Performance. Coming into this event number 6, we had 3 teams from placings 3 to 6 within 20 points. So 2 more teams will get a spot at the games. And taking 4th place with an amazing performance in this last heat and event, it is CrossFit Fabriken. So the 2 remaining teams that we had within those 20 points were Nordic and Butcher's Lab. And taking 5th place here at the Europe Regional 2018 in Berlin, Germany, and traveling to the games, your 5th place finisher, 434 points, Team Butcher's Lab. So these are your 5 qualifying teams from the Europe Regional 2018. Max Pool Spartans, Team Punt Out, Team RX Performance, CrossFit Fabriken, and Team Butcher's Lab. Give it up one more time for all of these teams.
So there you have it, after a chaotic weekend on the team side where we saw at least 10 teams that were in the top 5 at some point. The team that comes out on top, I believe, has spent the least amount of time on top of the leaderboard this weekend, but they were when it counts. Max Pool Spartans will be making their 2nd trip to the CrossFit Games as they take this region by 20 points over Team Punt Out, who are 2 points ahead of RX Performance, who slid down to 3rd, but they will still, more importantly, be going to the games. And then how tight was that finish for 4th through 7th, as we only had 12 points separating CrossFit Fabriken, who was in, then they were out, then they were back in at the end. Team Butcher's Lab finishing 8 points ahead of Soyuz team, who nearly pulled off a stunner at the end, and CrossFit Nordic in 7th. So with our champions, we will go down to Nikki Brazier. She's with the Max Pool Spartans.
So we saw some serious shakeup today on the leaderboard. You guys hadn't been sitting pretty in 1st place before this, but man, you are, when it counts, 1st place throughout the course of the regionals weekend. How did this go in comparison to how you anticipated it?
I can't even describe this feeling. After event 1, we were at 16th place or something, so we were really disappointed. And after that, everything has gone our way, and so surprised we're standing here in first place right now.
Surprised, some tears of joy, I think I saw. How do you go back and start attacking your training now for the CrossFit Games?
We haven't really planned this because we didn't think we were going to go this year. So, I don't know. He's becoming a dad in 1 month, so, and I have summer job and these girls are working as well, so I don't know. It's going to be crazy.
We'll see how it goes. Well, congratulations on your newborn and great job this weekend, guys.
Well, it's interesting to see that they hadn't planned any further than this, showing up with the athletic capacity and the mindset that they had. Maybe they should start planning for for a games experience in the future. I thought it was impressive to see how they handled themselves. This comes, of course, with experience, with a great support system in the box, and with their respective families, of course, as well. But then just going out there and not leaving it, taking anything for granted, and fighting all the way to the end.
They're going for a 2nd time, also going for a 2nd time, our wild card team this weekend. Butcher's Lab, they're also with Nikki Brazier.
This coveted 5th place spot, it was such a question. Who would get the final spot to qualify for games? You look surprised. Are you surprised?
Yeah, we're so surprised. Like,
The other teams are so strong and so good, so yeah, we haven't expected, so we are so surprised that it clearly looked, yeah, so it's insane. We're so happy, yeah.
Now, you're a wildcard team. We haven't seen you before at games. Can you explain a little bit what Butcher's Lab means?
It means, what do you say, meat?
Butcher. It's because the gym is in an old butcher's lab. Yeah, it's in the meat packing district, so yeah.
Makes sense. Congratulations on your trip to the games, you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, from the environment that the gym used to be, going to the glory of the games is quite the turnaround, as Butcher's Lab rounding out our top 5. Well, they'll be one of 2 teams making a second trip to the games. We'll have 2 first-time teams. They finished 2nd and 3rd here in Europe with Team Food Out and Team RX Performance. They'll be making their debut appearances at the games. CrossFit Fabriken finishing 4th will be making their 3rd. But again, the regional champions here in the newly returned European region, Max Pol Spartans, 20 points clear over 2nd place.
And all the teams, some of the teams may be new, but the moving parts of the teams, every single team has at least one athlete who has been to the games in the past, and that's the kind of experience combined with new hunger and a new drive that you just can't buy. That's exactly what you need in a team.
And with all the different nationalities we've had here this weekend, with this new European regional that has returned with Europe North, Europe Central, 4 different countries will be sending a team to the games, with Norway sending 2. That will wrap up things here in the team competition of the 2018 Reebok CrossFit Games Europe Regional, as we've got our first 5 tickets punched to Madison. We'll punch 10 more, 5 men, 5 women. We'll be going to Madison. We'll find that out coming up in just a bit.